This episode of Building You is brought to you by PageFlip. Your digital catalog is available on Promo Pages, a digital database for distributors to create fully customizable catalogs that they can send to their clients. Contact sales at promocorner.com.
This is our second episode, so that's very exciting. If you joined us last month, since this is a monthly program, thank you so much. I'm so happy about that. And if you joined today again, I'm doubly happy. So just a little review about Building You. Building You is a program where we're building you. It's about personal development and how that can affect you in every aspect of your life. So on last week's program and what we're going to be doing going forward, we share information. We tell you how it can help your life, and then we actually give you an exercise. If you choose to do that exercise, it's up to you. However, knowing information is great, but the only way to make changes in our life, to develop ourselves, is to practice the things that we learn about. So last month on Building You, our exercise was simply an affirmation, and that affirmation was be here now. Basically, what it was about was finding the silver lining in any difficult situation that you were in. So I am going to ask if anybody implemented Be Here Now over the last month. I'd love for you to shoot a comment in the comments and just let us know how it felt, how you liked it, if it's something that you found beneficial. So getting into today's program, don't worry if you weren't here last month, because you can go back and rewatch it and practice Be Here Now. But today we're going to learn something else. Today's program is getting a little bit more personal. Today, we're going to actually be even working with slides. So Brandon's going to be managing our slides for us, because I learn much more effectively, as do many humans, with a visual and an audio. So today, we're going to be talking about growth traps that hinder our growth in general. And actually, this is something that I learned out of the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth from John C. Maxwell. I think that I'm on your screen still. I'm holding up the book. Hopefully you can see it. It's a great book. This is a tiny section in it. And in John C. Maxwell's book, he talks about these gaps. And he calls them gaps. I call them traps, because in life, when we get stuck in a trap, it's really hard to get away from that trap. And what we're going to do is admit to ourselves that we make a lot of excuses. Now, I'm not saying that we are 100% in control of how our life turns out, but what I am saying is that we have much more control than we like to give ourselves credit for. So these traps are really just mistaken beliefs that we allow ourselves to hold us back from moving forward with our growth. And goals are awesome. We need goals. And sometimes we'll hit our goals, but goals are just milestones along the way to our continuous growth. So if we focus instead on growth goals, which is developing skills and learning ways to help ourselves, we will automatically be successful there, but also reach goals along the way. So the first trap that we're going to fall into, which is the first slide that Brandon has for you, is the assumption trap. Now, the assumption trap is basically the idea or the mentality of it's always happened, so it's always going to happen. And if you look at the slide, you can see that it goes from a baby up to an adult. And that is the assumption. Our whole lives, we've continuously gotten bigger, we've gotten stronger, we've learned how to face new challenges. Things just automatically happen because we as humans grow from small to big. The challenge is that once we've reached physical maturity, we think that we are just as smart as can be, and it's automatically going to keep going in the same direction. But the truth is, once we've finished our formal learning, whether that be schooling, if you go on to college, whatever your level of formal education is, if you do not make the conscious decision to continue your learning or your growth, it's going to stop. Now, even a broken clock is right twice a day. We know this, right? So we can have happy accidents, and we can learn because things are gonna happen, and it's gonna happen for us. However, we need to have complete ownership of our growth if we expect to move forward. So if you want to improve your life, you have to improve yourself. So the first trap is the assumption trap. Don't think it's just going to happen. Just by living, you're not going to grow. So make that commitment to be intentional about how you're going to move forward. The second trap that we fall into is the knowledge trap. Well, the knowledge trap is really just us choosing to not make the initiative to learn something before we do it. Now, if you look at the slide, you see this kayaker is out there in this cove with these sharks. Now, had they decided to research which coves are best for kayaking, maybe this wouldn't be the case. So the knowledge gap is the idea of, well, I don't know how to research, I don't know how to grow, but we do. So I don't know about you, but I went to the School of Hard Knocks. Many of us go to the School of Hard Knocks from time to time when we let the knowledge gap get in our way and we don't learn first. What happens is that we have experiences that teach us. And again, it's like that mistake in the first assumption gap. The School of Hard Knocks does teach us, but it takes twice as long and the tuition is very, very high because it's harder for us. It's random. It's not usually at a convenient time. So by taking the initiative, not being lazy, and going out and learning about something before we move forward, we won't let ourselves get stuck in the knowledge trap. So you're going to choose to learn. It's going to be at your convenience. You're going to learn what you want, and it's going to be at your own pace. So you won't be stuck in an inconvenient situation. The third trap that we fall into is the timing trap. Now I have a riddle for you. The riddle is, there were 5 frogs sitting on a log. 4 of them decided to jump off. How many frogs are left? I'm going to give you a second because I want you to write in the comments what you think the answer is. I'm going to repeat it. There are 5 frogs sitting on a log. 4 decide to jump off. How many frogs are left? The answer is 5 frogs, because there's a big difference between deciding and doing, right? I make a lot of decisions and many times I don't follow through with those decisions. So the timing gap is the mentality of, oh, it's just not the right time right now. Do you know anybody that's put something off because they don't have enough money, or they don't have enough time, or they're waiting for something miraculous to happen before they move forward? Has it ever happened to you? I know it's happened to me. If we put off until tomorrow what we should be doing today, that's called the law of diminishing intent. The law of diminishing intent means, and it says that if we put it off when we should be doing it today, we are much less likely to ever do it. And I know that there are many people that towards the later part of their lives, you know, the consistent regret is, I should have done this. I wanted to do this and I put it off and I never got to do it. So the timing gap is a very frustrating thing in the future of our lives, because now is the time. I think Nike said it best, just do it. So the way to get over the timing gap is to not think that you're going to wait for it to happen tomorrow. Make it happen today, and you'll figure it out as you go. The next trap that we fall into is the mistake trap. Okay, so I would like to think that I'm not the only person that's ever made a mistake in my life, right? Dude, I make mistakes all the time. However, since I've started my personal development, I've learned that mistakes are a good thing. Mistakes, however, hold people back because mistakes are scary, right? They're kind of messy. People are afraid that they're going to be judged or made fun of. Mistakes are tough. However, mistakes are proven scientifically to teach us more than our successes. So you have to get over the fact that you're going to make mistakes, because Everybody makes mistakes, but you're going to allow your brain to realize that when you make a mistake, you're learning. I think that Thomas Edison is my favorite example. Of course, we've all heard that he had, invented the incandescent light bulb. And when I started to research this, I had always thought it was 1,000 wrongs before he made a right. But do you know it was 10,000? And when he was asked about that, he said, I didn't make any mistakes. I've learned 10,000 ways not to do it. And I also learned this in my research. I don't know if you know this. I absolutely did not. He invented the alkaline battery. And do you know it took him 50,000 tries in 10 years? I mean, talk about persistence, right? I mean, this guy didn't give up. So think about your mistakes as an opportunity that somebody else doesn't get. As we're making our mistakes, we are growing so much more than somebody that isn't making mistakes, and it allows us to move in the right direction. So the next trap that we have, we're moving right along, is the perfection gap, or the perfection trap. So the mistake trap is the fear of making a mistake. The perfection trap is that person that needs everything to be absolutely perfect before they move forward. Do you know anybody like that? I know people like that. The challenge with the perfection trap is that it's really hard to be perfect, right? Now, if you see this picture that I have here, the perfection trap is kind of like when you're going down a road that you're unfamiliar with at night. Wouldn't we love to know exactly what the lay of the land is so that we're not surprised and we can kind of know where we're going to go when we want to go there? But if you think about the idea of your headlights being on and you're driving down that road, you're going to see what's coming next progressively. You don't know everything at once. So the only way to get to where we want to go is to move forward in a progressive manner, to not expect to know everything ahead of time. It was actually explained to me like this, which I thought was great. We're in the throes of football season right now. And the football teams are not perfect, right? They're not waiting till they have every single play down absolutely perfectly before they go out onto the field. Every time they go out, they're learning and they're finding new ways to do things. They're getting better every time. So it's really hard to be perfect. So what you want to do is just progressively move forward. There's a quote, it says, progressive improvement is better than postponed perfection, because everybody that doesn't have the perfection trap in their way is going to start moving, and they're going to get there faster than those that stand back. There is a statistic that says that if we improve 1% every single day, in 2 months, we are going to be 100% better. Now, let's take this into the realm of perfection. This is task oriented. So think about a runner. I don't run, I'm going to put it out there. But if you're a runner and you run a mile a day, but you really want to run 2 miles a day, if each day you increase your distance by 1%, and this is a cumulative, 1% every single day, in 2 months, you're going to be running 2 miles. So don't think about being perfect. Don't get stuck in that trap. Just move forward. Make it happen. Okay, moving on to the next trap that we fall into. The inspiration trap. Well, the inspiration trap is a lot like the motivation trap, right? Motivation has a lot of opinions around it, and this is how I feel. It's really easy to be inspired or motivated or excited about starting something new when we're excited about starting something new. It could be a new work project. It could be losing 10 pounds. It could be, building something, whatever it is that you're into, whatever it is that you want to improve or your skill that you're looking for. If you're excited about it, you're going to start strong. But then what happens? Life, right? Life gets in the way. We get frustrated because it's hard. A bump comes into the road. Maybe our time gets cut because we have to do something for work or for home. Whatever happens, that initial inspiration, that motivation gets squashed. So this is the thing about the inspiration trap. We have realize that there is no such thing as inspiration. The only thing there is activity. So there's a big difference between thinking about doing something and doing it. We learned that with the frogs, right? So when we think about daily activities towards whatever it is that we're fighting for, whatever skill that we're trying to learn, if we incorporate daily activities, they will become part of our persona. So if you work, we know for 21 days and do something every single day, it's going to become a behavior. The activity becomes the behavior. If we do that same thing for 66 days, it becomes a habit. And what happens during stressful times is that we fall back on our habits. That's why it's hard to get something going, because we don't allow ourselves, we get discouraged and that inspiration wears off, and then we fall back into our old habits. So if we commit, just simply commit to daily activities, one daily activity that's going to put you in the direction that you want to go, do it for 66 days. Your activity will build your behavior will build your habit, and you'll be home free from there, and you can start on something else to improve yourself. So you want to act yourself into feeling instead of assuming that you're going to feel like acting. That's how we get over the inspiration gap. The next one is the comparison trap. Well, have you ever compared yourself to somebody else? I have. Comparison's like the devil. So when we compare ourselves, we do it two ways. The first thing that we do is we compare ourselves to somebody else and we feel inferior. We feel frustrated, or they get all the breaks, they get everything handed to them. They're just naturally good at what they do. I don't have it that easy. And what happens is we fall into this trap and we get discouraged, and it prevents us from moving forward. The other way that we can compare ourselves is that we think, I'm so much better than they are. They don't even know what they're doing. And we get this aura of proud and elitist, and neither one of those situations benefits us or helps us to move forward. So when you compare yourself, the only person that you should ever compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Every single day, we should be striving to grow, to be more positive, to learn a new skill every day. If we decide to grow us and to compare ourselves to the yesterday us, we are bound to be better. We are bound to grow in the direction that we want to do. And the other thing about comparison is that if you are comparing yourself to somebody, you can't learn from them unless they're better than you. So take this opportunity to watch those that are being successful and learn from what they do. Comparison is not a negative. Use it as a positive so that you can grow from what you're seeing. And then the last trap that we fall into, this is the expectation trap. So I've talked about this before. I don't know if you heard it on the last program, but this is what we're looking at. We have two things. We have what we expect to happen and what really happens. And in this area right here is where disappointment, anger, frustration, that's where that all lives. So what we have to do is realize that when we have an expectation, that's all it is. It's a word. Because no matter what, nothing is going to go exactly the way that you expect it to. So by allowing ourselves to be aware of this fact and say to yourselves, I am not going to get frustrated when it doesn't go exactly the right way. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to progressively move forward in order to reach those milestone goals that I have. And possibly, if it doesn't go the way that your expectation is, it can be even better. I love this little meme here, this what people think success looks like and what it really looks like, because nobody that's ever been successful is ever going to say to you, oh yeah, it was totally easy. It's just not the case. Success takes work. Work takes discipline. It's those daily behaviors that will help get us to the growth that we want, in the direction in which we want to go, into that happy, fulfilling life that we're looking for. So moving on, in review, we have the 8 traps that we talked about. So the assumption trap is just thinking just by living, it's going to happen. It isn't. We have to consciously choose to grow. The knowledge gap, by just basically not taking the initiative to learn before we move forward. The timing gap, thinking, oh, I have tomorrow to do it, I'm not going to do it today. This is really procrastination, and procrastination is a killer. So do not get stuck in that trap. I can say, personally, that was my trap till about my 30s, and I realized I was a procrastinator, and I did something about it, and now life is so much better. So don't get stuck in the timing trap. The mistake trap. The mistake trap, I think I keep hitting this. I hope you're not hearing something funny. The mistake trap is that we're afraid of making a mistake. Remember, your mistakes are what's going to make you better than everybody else, because you're going to learn more and you're going to grow faster. The perfection trap. Don't think that you have to have everything completely perfect before you start. Just progressively learn as you go and know that you're going to get there. Trust the system. The inspiration trap. Remember, you want to act yourself into feeling, not feel yourself into acting. Once you start going with something, our results motivate us. Think about it like working out or dieting, right? Like, I get real excited if I want to lose 10 pounds. In the first couple of days, I might be pretty good about it, but then I want a cookie, right? I get frustrated and I might not want to stay on a healthy eating regimen. However, if I force myself and act in a way that I planned on doing it, once I see a few pounds drop off, I get motivated again. I'm inspired to really focus because I see that it's working. So act yourself into feeling and you'll get there. The comparison gap, only compare yourself to yourselves. Remember, the you of yesterday, you can be better than. And if you have people in your life that seem to really have it going on, take that opportunity to learn from them. And then the last one is the expectation gap. Realize it's not going to be the way that you think it is, but it can be an opportunity for you to see how to get there in a more unique, possibly learning way. I want to go to the next slide because this is probably my favorite thing. On this slide, it says, if you want it badly enough, you find a way to make it happen. And what you see in the picture is a horrible snowstorm. And this is kind of a, I don't know if it's a joke or a riddle, but there's this guy, he's a salesman, and the salesman's sitting in a diner, and there is a storm outside like you've never seen. You can't see 5 feet in front of your face. It is just blustery and blowing and piling up like crazy. And the waiter comes over to the man sitting in the booth, and he says to him, he says, do you think that the roads are going to be good enough tomorrow for everybody to pass? And the salesman looks up at him and he says, well, it depends on if you're on salary or commission. And that's the truth. When you're motivated, you will make it happen. It's all about, what are you reaching for? We do what's most important to us. We don't fall in these traps if it's something that we really want. So you want to really make sure that you don't allow yourself to get stuck. The next slide is just a quote from Vince Lombardi. And the quote is, once you learn to quit, it becomes a habit. I don't know if you've ever eaten potato chips. Well, let me tell you what happens. When you have a bag of potato chips and you're eating your potato chips, which are delicious and crunchy and salty, and you say, okay, you say this to yourself, I'm going to have one more potato chip. And you eat that potato chip. And then you look in the bag and it's the really foldy, good kinds. You're like, okay, I'm going to have another one. And then you have one more. Okay, just one more. Every time you tell yourself just one more, but then you don't stop, our brain is forming a habit. So what happens is that once we've learned how to quit, our brain always goes there. It's the same idea of your children. Listen, if your kid doesn't answer you until the 3rd time you call their name, you created that habit. You allowed it to happen. Our brain remembers what we do. So once you learn to quit, once you allow yourself to get stuck in these traps, these completely unreal situations, we're going to fall back into them very easily. So That brings us to our last slide, which is your exercise for the month, if you choose to accept it. This is kind of like Mission Impossible. So if you choose to accept this challenge, the challenge is basically 5 steps. Number 1, pay attention. If you find yourself in a situation where you're being held back, pay attention. Are you falling into one of these growth traps in limiting your own potential? Number 2, recognize it. So pay attention and see if it's happening. Number 3, reframe your thought. I don't need to do that today. I can do it tomorrow. That's the timing gap. Reframe your thought, take care of business, and then number 4, move forward with it. So number 1, pay attention. Number 2, recognize if you're in a trap. Number 3, change it, knowing what these traps are. And number 4, just move forward. And then of course, number 5 is repeat every time it happens. So guys, this is today's program, which is about the 8 growth traps that completely limit our potential. And I hope that you love it. I hope that you decide to take on the challenge. And I guess that's all I got for today.